About 500,000 people have been left without their child benefit payment after a technical issue at HMRC. HMRC says it is working to resolve the back processing issue, which meant that around 30% of Monday's scheduled payments did not go through. There was belief that some payments may not be going through until Wednesday. Many parents took to social media to complain about missing money, with some saying they have been left unable to buy food or pay for their child's bus fare. HMRC has asked customers not to contact them, adding that more information will be provided via social media as soon as it is available. The UK's tax authority, which administers child benefit payments, said the missed payments will be made but cannot yet say when. It said that payments that are due to be paid on Tuesday would be made on time. Danielle, a mum from London, tweeted, "In 14 years, I've never had a problem getting my CB on time. I was very surprised by this issue. Hopefully it'll be rectified quickly. I feel for anyone who was relying on this money this morning." Single mum Esther tweeted, "Be nice if we could all be given a time frame for payments. The way you've handled this is crazy. Anyone impacted by the technical problems can submit a complaint online. Those affected are advised to keep any evidence such as receipts or screenshots to add to their complaint if they want to claim redress. People can claim child benefit if they are responsible for bringing up a child under 16 or under 20 if they are in approved education or training. Only one parent receives a payment per child, but there is no limit to how many children you can claim for. The payments which are usually made every 4 weeks arrive on Monday or Tuesday. We're sorry that some customers' child benefit payments have not arrived as scheduled, and we are working urgently to resolve the issue," said HMRC. Since April, parents have been able to claim £25.60 a week for one child and £16.95 for each subsequent child. People who earn up to £60,000 a year can claim the benefit in full. It is taken away entirely when an individual earns £80,000. Members of a dog-fighting ring have been jailed after illegal bouts were organised across Europe and some animals were forced to fight to the death. Dogs have been chained to treadmills, kept in dirty conditions and were caged in isolation, Charles Crown Court heard on Monday. Members had organised bouts at a property in Takeley, Essex, as well as in the Republic of Ireland and France. Key evidence in the case came from a phone which belonged to Philip Harris Ali, aged 67, of Manford Way, Chigwell, known in the dogfighting world as Dr. Death. He was jailed along with Stephen Albert Brown, aged 57, of Borough Road, Chigwell, and Billy Needley, aged 30, of the Screen at Takeley. Dogs were not given clean water or proper bedding and were starved to be kept fighting weight. They were also told animals suffered serious injuries, including broken legs, and endured brutal training regimes. Members of the group used makeshift medical kits to treat the injured animals instead of taking them to a qualified vet to avoid detection. The RSPCA launched an investigation after an officer visited Ali's address near Hainault in August 2021, and dogs were found in poor conditions. Judge Jamie Sawyer said that the gang showed a shocking level of barbarism and callousness for the dogs involved in the case. He said the fights were highly planned and without care to the welfare of the animals in question. The judge told the defendants dogs were treated as a commodity by each of you. They were playing pieces in your game. Evidence used in the case included videos of dogs and reports detailing how the animals were set upon each other, sent by the encrypted messaging app Signal. Ali was sentenced to 5 years in total and offences under the Animal Welfare Act. His right-hand man, Brown, was jailed for 2 years and 6 months after he was found guilty of 5 offences under the Animal Welfare Act. He got illegal veterinary medication and equipment and was involved in training dogs and arranging fights. Personal trainer Billy Needley, aged 38, who had a dog-fighting pit at his home in Founders Green, was jailed for a total of 4 years for 12 different offences. His wife, hairdresser Amy Leadley, aged 39, who was not directly involved in the ring, was sentenced for various offences linked to keeping a promise for dog fighting and not caring for the animals properly. She was given an 18-month community order, 200 hours of unpaid work, and 25 days of rehabilitation activity. Donald Trump has joined TikTok despite attempting to ban it on national security grounds during his presidency. In 2020, he signed a presidential executive order attempting to ban the platform for its links to China, which was ultimately blocked by US court. He has since criticised a recent attempt to curtail it, saying this would empower Facebook owner Meta. Mr. Trump, who has amassed more than 3.6 million followers since launching his account on Saturday, said he will use every tool available to speak directly with the American people. President Joe Biden is also using the platform to campaign for re-election in November, but he has only picked up 340,000 followers, 10 times fewer than that of his rival. It comes after President Biden signed into law a bill which gives the social media platform Chinese owner ByteDance 9 months to divest the app or it will be blocked in the US. The law was introduced because of concerns TikTok might share user data with the Chinese government, claims it has always denied. The move by Mr. Biden came as some surprise to the platform's estimated 170 million users in the US. Marcus Bloch, a researcher at Hamburg University of Applied Sciences, said some TikTok users might see Mr. Trump as a potential preserver of the app in the face of potential ban, which might explain the speed at which he gained his following. TikTok alone is not decisive for the election, but it has been a great real-time sensor for cultural and social atmosphere. Caroline Leavitt, a spokesperson for the Trump campaign, told NBC News the former president had already gained significant ground with young voters, and this is another way to reach them. His first TikTok, a 13-second video of him attending a mixed martial arts event, has been viewed more than 60 million times. It comes after Mr. Trump was convicted following a 7-week criminal trial. Jurors found him guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records as part of an effort to conceal hush money payments to adult film performer Stormy Daniels. Mr. Trump acknowledged in an interview with CNBC in March that the app did pose an active security risk, but argued a ban would strengthen Facebook as an enemy of the people, along with a lot of the media. His Facebook and Instagram account were suspended following the US Capitol riots on the 6th of January 2021, but these have since been reinstated. Mr. Trump launched his own alternative social media platform, Truth Social, in 2022. He reportedly owns a near 65% stake in its parent company of media. The US and Europe have separately announced major takedowns of cybercrime networks that defraud people of billions. The US has arrested Chinese national Yi Wang and seized assets including a Ferrari, luxury yachts, and 21 properties. While Europol, Europe's crime agency, has made 4 arrests that said 8 fugitives are on the run, they'll be added to Europe's most wanted list. Both the US Department of Justice (DOJ) and Europol each claimed their operations were the biggest bust and botnet in the world. Cybercriminals use so-called botnets to take over people's computers and install malicious software. This software can then be used to collect data from a computer, send spam, or even delete personal data without the user's knowledge. The DOJ said Mr. Wang is accused of using a botnet to hack into more than 19 million devices across almost 200 countries. Nicole Argentieri, Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General, said Wang created malware that compromised millions of resident computers around the world and then sold access to the infected computers to cybercriminals. She said criminals used this access to conceal their identity and anonymously commit a wide array of offences. These include fraud, child exploitation and harassment, and even bomb threats. They also estimated that more than 500,000 fraudulent unemployment insurance claims were sent from computers under his control, resulting in a loss of more than $5.9 billion, or £4.6 billion. The DOJ accused Mr. Wang of using the proceeds to buy $60 million worth of luxury assets, and said it had seized a Ferrari, a Rolls-Royce, 2 BMWs and several watches, as well as bank accounts and cryptocurrency wallet. He also bought property in the US, St. Kitts and Nevis, China, Singapore, Thailand and United Arab Emirates. Law enforcement agencies in Singapore and Thailand, as well as technology giant Microsoft, were among the organisations that helped with the investigation. Mr. Wang had been charged with conspiracy to commit computer fraud, substantive computer fraud, a conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. If convicted on all counts, he faces a maximum penalty of 65 years in prison. Meanwhile, Europol said it had arrested the ringleaders of several cybercrime networks that used botnets. It has made arrests in Armenia and Ukraine and taken down servers across the world, including in the UK, the US and Germany. More than 2,000 websites are now under the control of European law enforcement. Europol said that one of the main suspects had made more than €69 million, or £58 million, in cryptocurrency through what is known as ransom, installing software that makes it impossible for a person to access their computer unless they pay a fee. In addition, 8 fugitives who are on the run and wanted in Germany for their involvement in cybercrime will be added to Europe's most wanted list. The malicious software got on people's devices mainly through thorough phishing attempts, such as the kind of emails people are advised not to click on and compromised websites. Europol said the takedown, dubbed Operation Endgame, is ongoing and it has plans to keep the bust. Meme stock favourite Gamestop is rising again after a social media post seemingly from the investor known as Roaring Kitty claimed a sizable stake in the video game retailer. Shares in the firm opened for trade on Monday, priced above $40 apiece, more than 7% on Friday, before later retreating a bit. The surge followed a screenshot shared by the Reddit account tied to Keith Gill, claiming he owned 5 million GameStop shares, nearly 2% of the firm's stock, a holding worth more than $100 million or £78 million. The post was one of the series in recent weeks that followed a long period of silence from the Roaring Kitty accounts. The veracity of the post could not be confirmed. Neither Mr. Gill nor GameStop responded to emails seeking comments. Mr. Gill became famous in 2021 for inspiring an army of online investors back GameStop. It led to an unexpected surge in the struggling firm's shares, creating a financial squeeze on professional Wall Street firms that had bet against the retailer. Posts from that year showed Mr. Gill held about 200,000 shares, worth $30.9 million. Shares in some other so-called meme stocks, whose rise and fall appears disconnected from the fundamentals of the business, also headed higher on Monday, such as AMC and BlackBerry. Analysts have argued the original rise of meme stocks was driven by the surge in savings and time many households had during the pandemic, thanks to government support programs and the shutdown of many in-person activities. With markets rising again this year, trading firms such as Schwab and Robinhood have reported another uptick in new accounts and activity by retail investors, people not working for investment houses or other private firms. GameStop cashed in on the interest rate last month, raising $933 million in a share sale. But the activity has been a source of some disquiet in the financial industry and in Washington, which hosted hearings on GameStop phenomenon in 2021. In an interview last month with a business broadcaster at CNBC, former financial regulator Jay Clayton, who led the Securities and Exchange Commission under former President Donald Trump, compared it to gambling. It bothers me on so many levels. It's a lot closer to gambling than it is to trading, and it's certainly not investing. Is this something we should be tolerating in our markets, whether it's legal or illegal? I don't think so. Ticketmaster owner Live Nation confirmed unauthorized activity on its database after a group of hackers said they had stolen the personal details of 560 million customers. Shiny Hunters, the group claiming responsibility, says the stolen data, including names, addresses, phone numbers, and partial credit card details from Ticketmaster users worldwide. The hacking group is reportedly demanding a $500,000 or £400,000 ransom payment to prevent the data from being sold to other parties. In a filing to the US Securities and Exchange Commission, Live Nation said that on the 27th of May, a criminal threat actor offered what it is alleged to be company user data for sale via the dark web, and that it was investigating. The number of customers affected by the data breach has not been confirmed by Live Nation. The Ticketmaster breach was first revealed by hackers who posted an advert for the data on Wednesday evening. Ticketmaster refused to confirm it to reporters or customers and instead notified shareholders late on Friday. The Australian government said it is working with Ticketmaster to address the issue. The FBI has also offered to assist. A spokesperson for the US Embassy in Canberra told agents France Press. In its filings, Live Nation said it was working to mitigate risk to its customers and that it was notifying users about the unauthorized access to their personal information. As of the date of this filing, the incident has not had, and we do not believe it is reasonably likely to have, a material impact on our overall business operations or on our financial condition or results of operation. We continue to evaluate the risk and our remediation efforts are ongoing. American website Ticketmaster is one of the largest online ticket sales platforms in the world. This hack is one of the biggest in history in terms of global victims, but it's not yet clear how sensitive the data is that is in the hands of the cyber criminal. Researchers are also warning that it's part of a larger ongoing hack involving a cloud service provider called Snowflake, which is used by many large firms to store data in the cloud. Snowflake notified customers of an increase in cyber threat activity, targeting some of its customers' accounts. On Friday, Santander confirmed it had data from an estimated 30 million customers, stolen, which was being sold by the same hacking group as the Ticketmaster hackers. It added that UK customer data was not affected or lost in the hack. It's thought these hacks are all linked and many others could become public. An advent with some data samples allegedly obtained in the breach have been posted on the website Breach Forums, a newly relaunched hacking forum on the dark web, where other hackers buy and sell stolen material and information to enable hacks to take place. Shiny Hunters has also been linked to a string of high-profile data breaches, resulting in millions of dollars in losses for companies involved. In 2021, the group sold a genuine database of stolen information from 70 million customers of US telecoms firm AT&T. In September last year, almost 200,000 Pizza Hut customers in Australia had their data breached. The FBI cracked down on the domain in March 2023, arresting its administrator Connor Brian Fitzpatrick, but it has reappeared according to tech media. Users of hacking forums often inflate the scale of their hacking to attract attention from other hackers. They often where large stolen databases first appear, but can also feature false allegations and claims. Individuals declaring large batches of data in the past have proven to be duplicates of previous hacks rather than newly stolen information. If the data hack is as large as claimed by shiny hunters, the hack could be the most significant breach ever in terms of numbers and the extent of the data stolen. This is not the first time Ticketmaster has been hit with security issues. In 2020, it admitted it hacked into one of its competitors and agreed to pay a $10 million fine. It was allegedly hit by a cyber attack which led to problems selling tickets for Taylor Swift's Eras tour. Earlier this month, the US regulators sued Live Nation, accusing the entertainment giant of using illegal tactics to maintain a monopoly over the live music industry. The lawsuit from the Department of Justice said the firm's practices had kept out competitors and led to higher ticket prices and worse service for customers. What to do if you are worried you have been affected? Experts say it's important not to panic, but to be alert if you think you may have been a victim. Watch out for bogus emails, messages, and phone calls. Hackers can sometimes use the details they have to trick victims into revealing more information. In some cases, scammers may try and exploit the fear caused by the hack as a way of trying to persuade you to share information. Be especially suspicious of official sounding messages about resetting passwords, receiving compensation, scanning devices on missed deliveries, emails full of text speak designed to sound more convincing, and being urged to act immediately or without a limiting time frame. In 2018, when a hack put some Ticketmaster customer information at risk, UK officials also suggested users kept an eye on their financial accounts for suspicious activity. They also advised changing your password for Ticketmaster and any other site using the same password. The Scottish Greens have labelled the decision to exclude them from the first televised leadership debate of the general election as outrageous. STV will screen a 90-minute programme later featuring the SNP, Conservatives, Labour and the Liberal Democrats. However, the Greens will not be represented as they currently do not hold any Scottish seats at Westminster, despite having several MSPs at Holyrood. The broadcaster said it was comfortable that the decision met guidelines set by TV regulator Ofcom. Ross Greer, co-chair of the party's executive committee, has written to STV Chief Executive Simon Pitts regarding the programme. But BBC Scotland News understands the party has been informed STV stands by its decision. Mr Greer said it is outrageous that a national broadcaster has excluded us from their leaders' debate, despite the Scottish Greens having been one of the 5 major parties in this country for more than 20 years. He added that Scotland's media should reflect the range of voices and policies on offer at this election, rather than presenting unlimited options. An STV spokesman said, under the terms of our licences, STV's programmes must comply with the Ofcom broadcast code and its rules around due impartiality. We are comfortable that our election coverage, including the leaders' debate, meets these guidelines. In the letter sent to Mr Pitts, the Greens, who were in government with the SNP under a power-sharing agreement until it collapsed in April, said none of the 4 leaders taking part were actually standing as candidates at the election. The letter also claimed Greens' record in government and policies will be criticised without anyone from the party having a chance to defend them. Ofcom stated it was an editorial matter for STV to decide on. Appearing on the programme will be the First Minister John Swinney, the SNP, Scottish Labour leader Aina Sawar, Scottish Conservative leader Douglas Ross, and Liberal Democrat leader Alec Cole-Hamilton. The separate election debate on BBC Scotland will be held on the 11th of June. It will feature all 5 leaders, with either Patrick Harvey or Lorna Slater representing the Greens. Mr Twiley has called for a calm debate at the debate, which is the first televised opportunity for parties to clash during the election campaign. He said he was hoping for a respectful contest based on ideas to improve the lives of the people of Scotland. Mr Twiley added, in tonight's debate and in the election campaign ahead, I and the SNP will set out a genuine alternative to the broken Westminster status quo. Scottish Conservative Chairman Craig Hoy said that the debate would mean that the First Minister would face scrutiny on his fixation with breaking up the UK. He added that Mr Ross would show how the party would switch the focus from independence to the issues that really matter. Scottish Labour leader Anas Sawar said the election was a chance for change that we cannot afford to miss. He said in tonight's debate, I am not just arguing for myself, I'll be fighting for change for every single person in Scotland. struggling at the hands of this dysfunctional and incompetent Tory government. As the Liberal Democrat leader Alex Hamilton said he was intending to hit our message of hope and change the people of Scotland. STV political editor Colin McKay will host the programme, which airs at 9 p.m. from the broadcaster's specific key courses in Glasgow. Mr. Beast has overtaken T-Series as the biggest YouTube channel in a long-running battle for the most subscribers. Indian music label T-Series, which uploads trailers and music videos, held the record for the largest YouTube channel for 5 years, before it was toppled on Sunday. Mr. Beast's real name, Jimmy Donaldson, was already the individual with the largest following, but the 26-year-old has now made history on the platform with a seemingly unassailable 269 million subscribers, dethroning T-Series and putting him head and shoulders above everyone else. Across nearly 800 videos, Mr. Beast has made a name for himself with massive stunts, including giving away Iron Islands, being buried alive, and staging a real-life version of the Netflix hit Squid Game. In a post on X, Mr. Beast said he had finally avenged YouTube star Felix Kjellberg, known as PewDiePie, in surpassing T-Series' 266 million subscriber count. In a follow-up post, Mr. Beast said his channel took the record with its largest ever daily spike in subscribers, which rose by more than 2 million on Saturday. T-Series already set the record in 2019 by overtaking PewDiePie, to which the Swedish YouTuber said all it took was a massive corporate entity with every star in Bollywood in a music video explaining his defeat. Mr. Beast becoming the most subscribed to individual and channel on YouTube means he has extended his grip and wealth on the platform even further. He has several other channels dedicated to his gaming, philanthropy, and reactions to other content, accounting for tens of millions of subscribers each. Do not email me asking for money. I give away money because it makes me happy, his channel's description tells viewers. Referring to the sheer amount of cash measured in the millions he has distributed during his YouTube career. A video he posted in April saw one person win at £250,000 or £196,000. In 2022, Forbes estimated his net worth to be around $500 million and ranked him first on its list of the top 50 creators in 2023. Elon Musk, who has encouraged Mr. Beast and other video creators to post on his platform X, formerly Twitter, was among those congratulating him. Making X a more appealing platform for creators has formed a key part of Mr. Musk's strategy for making the platform profitable, and the YouTuber revealed in January he earned £250,000 from his first video posted on X. Mr. Beast taking this record will come as welcome news for Amazon, which has signed him to a TV deal reportedly worth as much as $100 million. Zara Alina's family is taunted with the thought that her death was preventable, and inquest has heard. John McSweeney killed the 35-year-old law graduate as she walked home from the night out in Ilford, East London in June 2022. McSweeney was handed a life sentence with a minimum term of 38 years at the Old Bailey in December 2022, after admitting Miss Alina's murder and sexual assault. Miss Alina's aunt, Farah Naz, told the inquest the crumbling justice system contributed to the death of her niece. McSweeney had been released from prison on licence on the 17th of June 2022, and after breaching the conditions of his licence, a decision was made to recall him to prison on the 24th of June 2022, 2 days before he killed Miss Alina. Miss Naz told the jury at East London Coroner's Court in Walthamstow that the family is taunted with the thought Zara's death was preventable. She added that her niece's murder highlighted the crumbling justice system meant to protect us. Miss Naz said, since her death, we have been campaigning so that our daughters, sisters, friends can be safe and protected as Zara never was. This is Zara's legacy. She became emotional as she told the jury of her niece's sparkling eyes and curly jet black hair and glorious laughter. Miss Naz said Miss Alina was a carer for her mother and grandmother, the rock of her family, and it was the proudest moment for all of us when she was offered a job as a legal assistant at the Royal Courts of Justice. She described her niece as a carefree spirit, the most caring heart, and said she had worked to help resettle refugees in the UK. Miss Naz said 2022 was her year to live her wildest dreams. She wanted to buy her own home, find Mr. Right, and to have children. The future looked bright. Miss Naz said Miss Alina wasn't just surviving, she was thriving, adding that Zara walked everywhere, and one night she walked home from an evening out with a friend. She was sexually assaulted and murdered. She was 35 years old. She believed that a woman could be allowed to walk home, and her dreams, her future, was brutally taken. Coroner Nadia Persuade said the purpose of the inquest was to consider the circumstances by which Zara came by her death, which will include whether any actions or omissions of state bodies it contributed to her death. The jury was told that Sweeney was 29 at the time of the attack and had received his first custodial sentence at the age of 13, with much of his adult years spent in prison or in the community under licence. The inquest also heard from Kim Thornton Edwards, Chief Probation Officer and Senior Leader of the Prison and Probation Service in England and Wales. When asked about risk assessments and sharing of information prior to Sweeney's release, Ms. Thornton Edwards said he was deemed as a medium risk offender rather than the high risk. She added a majority of his offending history included burglary and theft, and his case wasn't completely clear, adding our probation officers are more likely to assess high risk rather than low risk, and are more inclined to be cautious. Ms. Thornton Edwards also told jurors probation staff were told to be curious about information given in risk assessment and were encouraged not to under or overinflate but to be really clear. Ms. Persuade, reading a statement from a consultant forensic pathologist, said the cause of Miss Alina's death was blunt force, head injury and neck impingement. The inquest is expected to last for a week. Steve Wright has appeared in court charged with the murder and kidnapped a 17-year-old girl in 1999. Victoria Hall's body was found in a ditch about 25 miles, 40 kilometres from where she was last seen alive in a high road, Trimley, St Mary, Suffolk on the 19th of September that year. Mr. Wright, 66, previously of London Road, Ipswich, has also been charged with the attempted kidnap of a 22-year-old woman the previous night. During an appearance at Ipswich Crown Court via video link from HMP Long Lartin, a plea hearing was set for the 2nd of September with a provisional trial date for January. The Crown Court appearance in the afternoon followed an appearance at Ipswich Magistrates Court on Monday morning. During the earlier hearing, he spoke only to confirm his full name, date of birth, and to confirm he was not wanted proceeding. Suffolk police said Miss Hall was just yards away from her home in Trimley when she disappeared. Mr. Wright has also been charged with the unlawful kidnap of the teenager by force or fraud before being taken or carried away against her will. She had been at a Bandbox nightclub in neighbouring Felixstowe with a friend who she parted ways with at around 2:20 a.m. British Standard Time. When Victoria's parents woke up, they found she had not returned home and called the police. After a 5-day search, Miss Hall's naked body was found by a dog walker in a ditch next to a field on Creting Lane, Creting St Peter near Stowmarket. Mr. Wright, a former forklift truck driver, is also accused of the attempted kidnapping of Emily Doherty, then aged 22, in Felixstowe on the 18th September 1999. The charges following police announcing they would be fully reinvestigating the case with new detectives in September 2019. An armed forces veteran has died just days before the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Often deployed from Portsmouth Naval Base, Lewis Curl served in the Royal Navy from 1942 to 1946. He was a cipher coder on HMS Belfast and was granted leave, but after returning to Portsmouth, he was recalled to join HMS Daggers off the coast of Normandy. Mr. Curl passed away at St Richard's Hospital in Chichester on the 22nd of May, aged 98. After the telegram arrived instructing him to head to Le Havre, the 19-year-old discovered that the only available ship was a freighter packed with army lorries, according to the Royal Navy. As it reached the French coast, the vessel was bombed and sank. Surviving this, he swam ashore and walked along the coast in the dark until he reached the naval base. Mr. Curl was then taken to HMS Daggers, which was then anchored nearby. Naval seamen do not get piped aboard the ship, the Royal Navy said, but Mr. Curl did. An officer took him to one side and told him that the ship company had bets on if he was going to make it. The odds were against him. HMS Daggers then left for the Bay of Biscay for submarine boat surveillance, and the crew were able to score German codebooks. In 1945, Mr. Curl arrived in Glasgow for the Bean Day celebrations, before immediately leaving for Portsmouth once again to join the HMS Swiftsure, which was bound for the Far East. The crew spent their time pushing mines away from the ship with long poles, according to the Royal Navy. Mr. Curl picked up a tropical disease while searching for the presence of Japanese personnel and was taken to hospital. The hospital was then evacuated, but Mr. Curl and 4 others were left in the ward after being deemed too ill to move. A week later, he was found to be the only remaining survivor. He was then repatriated back to the UK on the HMS Belfast. The proposed merger between Nationwide and Virgin Money is set to be investigated by the UK's competition watchdog. The country's biggest building society announced the £2.9 billion deal with its smaller rival in March. It is the largest banking merger since the 2008 financial crisis and created the UK's second largest provider of mortgages and savings. The Competition and Markets Authority, CMA, said it was examining whether it would result in a substantial lessening of competition within the UK banking sector. Takeover would result in a combined group with some branches, second only to Lloyds Banking Group. Combined assets of the groups would total roughly £366.3 billion. Virgin Money is now the UK's sixth largest retail bank, with around 6.6 million customers, while Nationwide has nearly 18 million customers. When the deal was struck, Nationwide said it would not make any material changes to Virgin Money's 7,300 employees in the near term. It said that it would keep using the Virgin Money brand initially, but it would be phased out over 6 years once the proposed takeover is completed. Last week, Virgin Money shareholders voted in favour of Nationwide's offer, despite concerns from some investors that the takeover might sell shareholders very short. CMA has set a 40-day deadline for the first phase of its investigation. In this initial period, the CMA will evaluate whether the transaction constitutes a relevant merger situation and if it could lead to a substantial lessening of competition. The CMA is inviting comments from any interested parties, with the consultation period closing on the 14th of June. The outcome of this investigation will be crucial in determining whether a Nationwide deal with Virgin Money can proceed without modifications, or if the scrutiny and potential remedies will be required to preserve competition in the market. Company that bankrolled Vaughan Gething's successful bid to become Wales' First Minister was linked to a criminal investigation at the time. Mr Gething's leadership campaign accepted £200,000 from a firm controlled by millionaire businessman David Neil. The criminal investigation into suspected environmental offences by one of Mr Neil's firms, Resources Management Limited RML, is being carried out by Natural Resources Wales, NRW. A spokesman for Welsh Labour has said on Friday the issues had previously been addressed by Mr Gething, but later the First Minister said he was not aware of any of the details of the criminal investigation. On Monday, Mr Gething has said why on earth would have known about an investigation at that time. I've complied with all the rules throughout the process, and they've had to say today there's no evidence at all that I've broken any rules in the content. Asked when he first knew about the criminal investigation, Mr Gething said he found out when it was reported. The issue has been put to him by a reporter at the Eisteddfod on Friday. The investigation can also reveal that a senior Welsh Labour figure offered to lend Mr Gething money so he could pay back the donation at full, but he declined to take up the offer. Mr Gething, who narrowly won the Welsh Labour leader contest earlier this year, previously said he had done nothing wrong and has not broken the ministerial code. The continuing row in Wales is an unwelcome distraction to Sir Keir Starmer during the general election campaign. Although the Labour leader has publicly backed Mr Gething, RML runs the Withhead landfill site near Haverford, West Pembrokeshire, which people have complained since October 2023, is a stink bomb on steroids. RML said it would continue to fully cooperate with any pending investigation by Natural Resources Wales, but it is not the first time a waste management company controlled by Mr Neil has been investigated. He was twice convicted for environmental crimes relating to companies in 2013 and 2017, and one of those also pleaded guilty in March this year to another offence. One woman has said she moved back to her childhood home in the nearby village of Crondale with a partner and 2 young children for a better quality of life, but it has been marred by the Withhead site. I went out of the house to go to work and was hit with a horrible stench of rotten eggs. I held my breath until I got to the car. It was horrible. When I got to the car, my lips started tingling and I started getting a headache soon after. We've been shutting the windows because we don't want to wake up to my house smelling of rotten eggs, which is worse than my son's nappy. RML said it would no longer be accepting a number of waste streams they say contributed to the smell and are planning engineering work to make sure it doesn't happen again. Retired council worker Colin Barnett, who also lives near the landfill, has organised community process over the smell and has been complaining to NRW for 7 months. We started a Facebook campaign based on the fact that the local Facebook, the Spittle village, got overwhelmed by questions about the tip. When the drone footage of the site that I took went public, they started investigating it more, and it's only since then that there's been more pressure from us that they've had to keep going back. The great Mr Barnett started now has more than 200,000 members, and he said it was a massive campaign now. They're probably very surprised they've had such fierce resistance from a rural area that they thought was quite small, but the problem is they've affected so many of these villages. He added that very early on in the public meeting, Mr. Neal stood up and said he wanted to be a good neighbour. Well, if this is being a good neighbour, forget it, just go away. NRW says it has identified the soil as hydrogen sulfide. Howell Manley, head of operations from the Southwest, said the regulator was working with the local authority, local health board and public health in Wales to take the issues. We identified issues of concern late last year. The company is under investigation at the moment and is overseen by the Welsh Government, and it has been briefing ministers about the Withy Head site controlled by Mr. Neal since before Mr. Gethin became First Minister in mid-March. Health Secretary Ella Ned Morgan and then Climate Change Minister Julie James both had meetings with the regulator about Holland's Withy Head in February. It was revealed in March that Mr. Gethin has also previously spoken to W on behalf of Mr. Neal back in 2016, asking them to ease restrictions on one of his businesses, Atlantic Recycling Ltd. The second chunk of money Mr. Neal gave Mr. Gethin in January 2024 was donated the day before another of Mr. Neal's companies outlined plans for a new solar farm on the Gwent Levels in an area of special scientific interest. In a statement, Mr. Neal said, "All donations made have come from a separate account to those used for the development of our business. We have never requested or expected anything in return." But Plaid Cranley leader Ron Earth said there's been a perception the company had bought favours from the First Minister. One would have thought that somebody paying out much money would want something, and that's the causes the questions here. Why is it that a First Minister would be so happy to leave himself wide open to such obvious accusations of some kind of improper relationship? It just adds up to very poor judgment. Some Labour members have also questioned the judgment of the First Minister, with the BBC learning that one senior figure within Welsh Labour offered to loan Mr. Gethin the money to allow him to pay back the donation, which was turned down. But other senior party figures have also publicly backed the First Minister, including party leader Sir Keir Starmer and Shadow Welsh Secretary Joe Stephen. Speaking on the election campaign trail, he said that Vaughan didn't break any rules in that leadership campaign, and we are just looking forward to getting on with the general election. There's positive reaction for him on the doorsteps. Politicians in the Senate will vote on Wednesday on whether they have confidence in Mr. Gethin's leadership. If he were to lose the vote, he would not be forced to resign, but it would put him in a difficult position. It was proposed by the Welsh Conservatives leader in the Senate, Andrew R.T. Davies, who said the debate will give people the chance to have their say on Mr. Gethin's judgment, transparency and truthfulness. Today's revelations will only lead to more questions from Vaughan, Gethin's political opponent. Was the due diligence on the company at the centre of the donations row robust enough? Why did he turn down the offer of a £200,000 loan to get it back? It's a big week for both the FM and opposition parties. Another First Minister's questions tomorrow, where donations could well dominate again, the vote in confidence in Mr. Gethin on Wednesday. Although he is likely to survive because Labour MPs are very unlikely to vote against him, does there come a point later in the year when enough of them do decide that this is ongoing row, it's becoming too much distraction? Hackers are attempting to sell what they say is confidential information belonging to millions of Santander staff and customers. They belong to the same gang which this week claimed to have hacked Ticketmaster, the bank which employs 200,000 people worldwide, including around 20,000 in the UK, has confirmed data has been stolen. Santander has apologised for what it says is the concern that will understandably caused, adding it is proactively contacting affected customers and employees directly. It is said that UK customer data was not affected or lost in the hack. Following an investigation, we have now confirmed that certain information relating to customers of Santander, Chile, Spain and Uruguay, as well as all current and former Santander employees of the group, have been accessed. No transactional data nor any credentials that would allow transactions to take place on accounts are contained in the database, including online banking details and passwords. It said its banking systems were unaffected so customers could continue to transact securely. In a post on a hacking forum first spotted by researchers at Dark Web Informer, the group calling themselves Shiny Hunters posted an alert saying they had data including 30 million people's bank account details, 6 million account numbers and balances, 28 million credit card numbers, HR information for staff. Santander has not commented on the accuracy of these claims. Shiny Hunters have previously sold data confirmed to have been stolen from US telecoms firm AT&T. The gang is also selling what it says is a huge amount of private data from Ticketmaster. The Australian government says it is working with Ticketmaster to address the issue. The FBI has also offered to assist. Some experts have said Shiny Hunters' claims should be treated with caution, as there may be a publicity stunt. However, researchers at cybersecurity company Hudson Rock claim that the Santander breach and the apparent Ticketmaster one are linked to a major ongoing hack of a large cloud storage company called Snowflake. Hudson Rock says it has spoken to the perpetrators of the alleged Snowflake hack, who claim that they gained access to its internal system by stealing the login details of a member of Snowflake staff. In a statement on Friday, Snowflake said it was aware of potentially unauthorized access to a limited number of customer accounts. It said it appeared hackers had used login information to access a demo account owned by a former Snowflake employee. That account did not contain sensitive information. We have no evidence suggesting this activity was caused by any vulnerability, misconfiguration, or breach of Snowflake's products. European retailers are working to place their Christmas orders early as soaring shipping costs and trade route disruption threaten holiday deliveries. For the last few months, vessels belonging to Western firms have been attacked in the Red Sea by Houthi rebels backing Hamas in its war with Israel, driving shipping prices up. Container prices, which peaked in January and briefly declined, have rebounded sharply in recent weeks. One business said that increased costs were likely to feed through to price big-ticket items such as white goods. Nick Glynn, boss of the Buy It Direct group, owns several online retailers, including Appliances Direct and Laptops Direct, which are having to plan and book well in advance to make sure their shipments arrive in time. Because they are planning ahead, he said he didn't think Black Friday and Christmas stock would be affected. But he said it impacts cash and warehouse space, as suddenly you have to store the goods for longer. You can't risk ordering later. Mr. Glynn explained that spot rate, the current price for immediate delivery of goods, has dramatically increased in recent weeks from $4,500 to $7,500, or £3,500 to £5,900. This makes a massive impact on big bulky items, especially those that have low margins such as furniture, barbecues and kitchen appliances. There was no way most online retailers could absorb those price increases on big ticket items. So unfortunately for consumers, the next few months will see significant rises on these big ticket items. Disruptions caused by Yemen's Houthi movement have limited the global supply of shipping space and containers. The Houthi rebels have already launched attacks on more than 50 ships in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. Shipping costs have soared as a result. The average cost of shipping a 40-foot container now exceeds $4,000, a 140% increase from 2023, according to freight market tracker Zenith. Peter Sand, Zenith's chief analyst, said that importers have learned many lessons from the pandemic, including that the most straightforward way to protect supply chains is to ship as many of your goods as you can as quickly as possible. This is what we are seeing with some businesses telling us they are already shipping cargo for the Christmas period in May. Typically, retailers start importing goods for the Black Friday sales and Christmas shopping season between late summer and autumn. Ted Pilarsky from the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport agreed, saying companies are realizing that disruption to the Red Sea route caused by Houthi attacks could last until the autumn. To avoid headlines, Christmas is cancelled, there's nothing in the shops. People are now actually bringing forward their shipments, she said. So they'll be here in good time, allowing any eventualities that might happen while they are at sea. The attacks on ships have forced owners of vessels travelling between Asia and Europe to take a longer route around Africa, and so ships are starting their journeys earlier to allow for the extra time needed for the diversion. The effects of the diversions from the Red Sea that started last December are only now becoming apparent, with vessels on the Asia-Europe trade needing more than 100 days on the rotation by circumventing Africa, said Dominique Nadelhofer from Kuhn and Nagel, a major sea logistics firm. He added that the rotation of container equipment has also been disrupted, and said only around 50% of global container shipping is currently completed on time. As well as concerns about potential future Houthi attacks, there are also growing fears that as naval forces focus on countering the Houthi rebels, the resulting reduction in maritime patrols elsewhere may provide Somali pirates with opportunities to increase their activities. Labour leaders say this party's green energy plans will ensure the UK's transition away from oil and gas does not repeat mistakes from the phase-out of coal. The party has been accused of putting jobs at risk by vowing not to issue any new oil and gas licences if it wins power at July's general election. The SNP says the proposals, along with Labour's plan to hike taxes on firms' profits, would put thousands of Scottish jobs at risk. But Sir Keir Starmer argued his party's plans for a new green investment firm would safeguard replacement jobs for generations to come. Labour wants to set up the new public company, branded Great British Energy, to be headquartered in Scotland. The party has made it the focus of its campaigning on Friday, with Sir Keir travelling to Scotland to promote the idea. However, the party was forced to clarify what Great British Energy would do after the Labour leader told BBC Radio Scotland it would be an investment vehicle, not an energy company. This prompted the Scottish Greens to accuse Labour, which has previously said it would also generate electricity itself, of a U-turn. Labour has since confirmed that although it will not be an energy retail company, it will generate power in its own right, as well as owning, managing and operating clean power projects alongside private firms. Conservative Energy Secretary Claire Coutinho seized on the clarification, saying it demonstrated the latest chaos in the Labour campaign. Labour wants to hand the company £8.3 billion over the next 5 years for investments funded by a windfall tax on the profits of oil and gas companies. The government already has that tax recently extended until 2029, but Labour would charge a higher rate and close some tax allowances for investment. The party has said initial investments would focus on wind and solar projects, with new technologies such as floating offshore wind, hydrogen and carbon capture, and storage also eligible for funding. It hopes that each pound of public investment would trigger a further £3 million in private sector funding for projects and help secure domestic production. At the same time, Labour says it will not issue new licences for oil and gas projects, which are largely based in Scotland. It has specified that it would honour existing licences, but the plan has prompted warnings from the SNP, as well as unions. Jobs would be put at risk. The SNP has also attacked Labour's plans to put existing nuclear plans in England over the line, adding it would be done using Scotland's energy wealth. Speaking to BBC Radio Scotland, Sir Keir said Labour was not planning to turn the pipes off instantaneously, adding oil and gas would be part of the UK's energy mix for decades to come. He added that we have to make the transition away from fossil fuels, but this could be done with bringing new jobs to Scotland that would last for decades. He drew a comparison with coal-fired power, which provided over 40% of the UK's electricity just over a decade ago, but is due to come to an end later this year. I think a huge mistake was made when coal started coming to an end, and the government of the day didn't plan for the future. We have to plan for the future, do the transition properly, and that is the best way to make sure jobs are there, not just for this generation, but for the next and the generation after that. Labour's plans to set up GB Energy have been backed by Sir Patrick Collins, the government's former chief scientific advisor, who sprang to fame during the COVID pandemic. He added that the creation of clean power was not currently happening in the way that I think it needs to. However, Conservative Energy Secretary Claire Coutinho has attacked Labour's plans as unfunded. The Tories have also challenged Labour's claims it would reduce bills by up to £300, the party saying it would have no immediate impact on costs. The proposals have also been criticised by the Green Party, which argues the plan's level of investment is not big enough. Co-leader Adrian Ramsey said the planned £8.3 billion investment over 5 years would be nowhere near enough to allow Labour to hit its targets to deliver a net zero carbon electricity system by 2030. He added meeting that target would require greater electrification of home heating, which Labour had ditched when it scaled that separate green energy fund earlier this year. Shein, the controversial fast fashion giant whose popularity soared during COVID, may soon tighten its ties with the UK with plans to sell shares in the business on the London Stock Exchange. The Chinese firm could file the relevant paperwork as soon as this week, potentially valuing the company at $66 billion or £51.7 billion. Shein's formula of offering a huge range of cheap clothes, backed up by campaigns with social media influencers, has turned it into one of the biggest fashion retailers in the world, but it's faced severe criticism over its environmental practices, as well as allegations around the use of forced labour in its supply chain. In a bid to boost its green credentials, the company launched a resale platform for shoppers in France on Monday, 2 years after the option first cut for US customers. The platform is set to launch in the UK and Germany later, although no date has been specified. The company is looking at the UK as a place to sell its shares after facing hurdles and intense scrutiny in the US. Shein filed documents in the US last November. Some US lawmakers raised concerns about Shein's links to China as tensions between Washington and Beijing intensified. Shein relies on thousands of third-party suppliers as well as contract manufacturers near its headquarters in Guangzhou, China. It is able to turn around a new item in a matter of weeks, having sped up the test and repeat model, first used by the likes of Zara owner Inditex, where companies place small orders of clothing items, see how they perform with shoppers before ordering more if they are a hit. If Shein chose the UK over the US, it would be a significant boost to the City of London. The UK share listing generates significant business for the wider financial services industry that still makes up more than 10% of the UK's entire economy. After several firms have opted for the US instead, The UK government has been scrambling to make the company more attractive for companies to set out their stall. Shein may choose to file the initial paperwork known as a prospectus with the Financial Conduct Authority this week, sources said, or it could happen later in June. Filing a prospectus with the FCA is a required first step for any company that wishes to sell shares on the London Stock Exchange. This could be big news for the London stock markets if coming in the new. Chief Investment Officer at Wealthify, the investment firm, but he admitted the company may face some difficulties over claims about how it can do business. The filings with the financial watchdog is a necessary step, but doesn't guarantee that float will go ahead. Last year, a group of US lawmakers called for Shein to be investigated over claims that Uyghur forced labour is used to make some of clothes itself. We have zero tolerance for forced labour. Meanwhile, in May, a report suggested that workers for some of Shein's suppliers are still working 75 weeks, despite the company promising to improve conditions. The investigation by Swiss advocacy group Public Eye found that a number of staff across 6 sites in the manufacturing hub of Guangzhou were doing excessive overtime. According to the group, who interviewed 13 employees from 6 factories in China supplying Shein, excessive overtime was common for many workers. It was working hard to address the matters raised by the Public Eye report and has made significant progress on enhancing conditions, said Shein. On a London listing, Ms McHugh said it will be down to the regulator as to whether or not the listing can go ahead here in the UK, but it won't be without controversy. Shein's executive chairman Donald Tang is an American citizen who was a former banker for Bear Stearns in Asia. He's met both Chancellor Jeremy Hunt and Jonathan Reynolds. The shadow business secretary in recent months discussed the possibility of floating in London after getting resistance from regulators and lawmakers in the US. A Labour spokesperson said that it had met a range of companies, including Shein, that are looking to invest or list in Britain. We expect the highest regulatory standards and business practices from any company operating in the UK. We believe the best way to ensure this is to have more companies operating from and regulated by UK law. A toddler who suffered sinus pain and lethargy for 3 months was found to have a raisin stuck up her nose. Peyton Hanley of Cumberland North Lanarkshire told her parents Craig and Kirsty that she had a pain and would scratch around the area. But despite several GP appointments, nothing was found until the 3-year-old was taken to the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital, QEUH in Glasgow. Once their ear, nose and throat ENT specialist managed to solve the mystery by fishing out a raisin that had been lodged in her nose. Mr. Hanley, a former army medic, has said that his daughter had been showing symptoms like bad breath for around 3 or 4 months. He said, "We would put it down to being viral and kids catching everything. We had brought her to the GP, who had pretty much dismissed our concerns that maybe there was something blocking her airway. We did have a good look up with torches and we couldn't see anything, but we haven't got the right kind of instruments to look properly." As Peyton's symptoms persisted, the toddler showed discomfort as she scratched her nose, further leading her parents to believe she had something trapped in her airway. And when she was examined at the QEUH, the specialist discovered the raisin within 5 minutes. Mr. Hadley said it was hard to tell when and how the raisin got into his daughter's airway. He said, "You turn your back for 2 seconds and they pretty much do what they want at that point." Mr. Hadley praised the specialist who treated his daughter. He said the ENT guys at the Queen Elizabeth couldn't have been any more amazing, to be honest. They were totally focused on Peyton, kept her at ease, and found exactly what they were looking for within the first 5 minutes. I think if other parents were to go through the same thing with similar symptoms, I would take it further properly. Go see a proper ENT. Peyton is now back to normal health and feeding 10 times the little girl she used to be. Mr. Hanley joked, but definitely no more reasons. The Conservatives have promised to rewrite the Equality Act so that protections it enshrines on the basis of a person's sex apply only to their biological sex. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said the safety of women and girls meant the current confusion around definitions of sex and gender cannot be allowed to continue. The Tories say their electing pledge will make it simpler for service providers for women and girls, such as those running sessions for domestic abuse victims, to stop biological males from taking part. Labour's fellow Defence Secretary John Healey told BBC Radio 5 Live the change was not needed, adding that it was an election distraction from the really core issues that matter to people. He said the Equality Act already protects single-sex spaces for biological women, but acknowledged there was a need for clearer guidance, something he said Labour would use. Liberal Democrats Deputy Leader Daisy Cooper said if there are any examples of where a public service needs to have further guidance, we're happy to issue that guidance, but let's not compart legislation that reflects the hard-fought and hard-won protections given to women and trans women. The proposals would also see UK government decisions on gender reassignment applied across the UK, including Scotland. Scottish National Party leader John Swaney accused the Conservatives of being on the warpath against the Scottish Parliament and the devolved government in Scotland. Under the Equality Act 2010, it is illegal to discriminate against anyone because of protected characteristics. These are a set of identifying traits that are protected by law and include age, disability, religion, race, sex, and sexual orientation, among others. Some interpret sex in this context as referring strictly to biological sex, while others believe it also applies to people with a gender recognition certificate, a legal document that someone obtains the legal sex on their birth certificate. The Conservatives want to change the Act to apply to biological sex and say single-sex spaces such as public toilets and hospital wards and services such as rape crisis centres do not have to be open to those who are biologically male but identify as female. The party says that since the Equality Act was introduced in 2010, it has not kept up with evolving intelligence, sex and gender. The Conservatives say the policy is a matter of principle, but it is also an issue the party has used to attack its opponents. Questions on transgender care and identification have created divisions within the Labour Party and the SNP. The move is not without political risk for Conservatives, though. The Equality Act was passed by Labour in 2010, meaning the Conservatives have had their entire 14 years in office fix those areas they now regard as problems with it. Mr Sunak said the safety of women and girls is too important to allow the current confusion around definitions of sex and gender to persist. The Conservatives believe that making this change in law will enhance protections in a way that respects the privacy and dignity of everyone in society. Critics have in the past accused the Conservatives of seeking to sow division and demonise transgender people in the search for votes. However, Minister for Women and Equality, Debbie Bandador, said that she was not trying to stop trans people from living their lives as they wish. "We're trying to create a chilling effect for those men who are predators, who are exploiting trans people and exploiting the laws we have put in place to protect trans people." Ms Badlock was not clear about what paperwork would be sufficient for a trans woman to access women-only spaces such as rape crisis centres. Asked if birth certificates would be accepted, including ones amended after someone's gender change had been recognised in law, she said this is not a paperwork issue. What is happening at the moment is that people come to these centres and they are visibly of a different sex. If a rape crisis centre decides that it wants to allow a trans woman with a gender recognition certificate, they will be able to do so. If they choose not to, then they can't be sued for that. The Conservatives have also commented to making gender reassignment a reserved issue, meaning it would be uniform policy across the UK nations. This comes after the UK government last year intervened to stop Scotland enacting its gender recognition reform bill. Ms Baddock said in the Times, "We are one United Kingdom, and it is impractical for gender recognition regimes to vary in different parts of the country. So we will also legislate to establish that gender recognition is a reserved matter." The Equality Act 2010 already allows service providers to exclude certain groups if doing so is considered a proportionate means of achieving a legitimate aim. In 2022, the UK's policy watchdog, the Equality and Human Rights Commission (EHRC), published guidance for service providers wishing to keep spaces such as bathrooms single-sex, including examples of when they can legally exclude certain groups in order to do so. One such example was around access to domestic abuse refuges, with the EHRC advising it would be legal to bar trans women from the refuge if female survivors indicated they felt uncomfortable. In 2022, Judge Lady Haldane concluded the definition of sex in the Act was not limited to biological or birth sex, after a group of campaigners launched a legal case around gender balance on public boards in Scotland. The Conservatives argue that ambiguity of the law means single-sex service providers are often vulnerable to legal challenges and that women and girls' safety is at risk. The proposed law changes would apply whether or not a person has a gender recognition certificate. It's not the first time the Conservatives have spoken about amending the Equality Act. In 2023, Ms Fanner wrote to the EHRC for advice on the impact of doing so. The EHRC's chair, Baroness Ishwer Faulkner, said it would give clarity in a polarised and contentious area, but also warned a change could be more ambiguous than the current definition of sex in relation to equal pay and sex discrimination. She said any changes to the law would need detailed analysis of possible disadvantages for trans men and women in these areas. A mother has pleaded not guilty to killing her 4 sons who died in a house fire in South London. Dabika Rose, aged 29, appeared at the Old Bailey, charged with the manslaughter of Leighton and Logan Holt, aged 3, and Kyson and Bryson Hoth, aged 4. The brothers, who were 2 sets of twins, died after the fire in Collingwood Road, Sutton, at around 7 p.m. on the 16th of December 2021. Ms. Rose of Wallington at South London also denies 4 counts of cruelty to a child under the age of 16. Firefighters removed the children from the intense blaze at the mid-terrace house and gave them immediate CPR. The boys were taken to 2 South London hospitals, where they were pronounced dead. The defendant, who is on bail, entered her pleas during a hearing before Judge Mark Lucraft KC. The trial, previously scheduled for the 2nd of September, was put back a week to the 9th of September. It is due to take up to 3 weeks. Scampi is sourced in a way that causes extensive environmental damage, a charity playing to the UK Competition Authority has claimed. Open Seas is disputing the sustainability of the popular seafood snack and has asked the Competition and Markets Authority, CMA, to investigate supermarkets to claim it is responsibly sourced. The charity alleged extensive damage is caused from trawling the seabed with heavy nets when catching langoustines, scampi, and other marine life caught in the process is often wastefully discarded. The British Retail Consortium said retailers were working closely with suppliers to ensure products met customer expectation on sustainability. It added, retailers are committed to sorting the scampi responsibly. However, Open Seas claimed describing the product as responsibly sourced breaches CMA guidance. We've raised these concerns with supermarkets, but they continue to sell scampi as responsibly sourced, said Nick Undertow, the head of campaigns at Open Seas. A spokeswoman for Whitby Seafoods, which describes itself as the home of scampi, said, "We strongly dispute the claims made by Open Seas. CMA guidelines require marketing claims to be both truthful and accurate and clear and unambiguous. Consumers should not be misled by products being marketed in this way. Scampi is sold in the frozen aisles of supermarkets and in the UK, and is supposed to be made from langoustines, although shrimp scampi, scallop scampi and other variations are also served in restaurants across Europe." Mr. Underdale has said there was no effective vessel tracking to reduce the harmful effects of catching nephrops, the group of marine life that predominantly makes up scampi ingredient. There is a vessel monitoring system, but no means to monitor the composition of those catches, he said, adding the level of bycatch marine life caught unwittingly in the nets can often include small animals and fish, which impacts the populations of that species in the future. Catching large volumes of young fish against scientific advice is not responsible. Trawling over fragile marine habitats is not responsible. Businesses failing to address these problems is not responsible. The way scampi is produced has all the hallmarks of an irresponsible fishery. Whitby Seafoods said that it has a strong track record in building on the scampi fishing industry in driving improvements to sustainability. In its complaint to the CMA, Open Seas said supermarkets' claims that their fisheries were responsible was ambiguous due to the term being defined by a self-interested industry group without reference to international laws for defining responsible seafood. A spokeswoman for Whitby Seafoods said the claim that scampi is responsibly sourced is used in line with strict third-party guidance in the Sustainable Seafood Coalition. Sustainable Seafood Coalition was founded by companies including M&S, Waitrose and Young's. Edward Whittle, Whitby Seafood Sustainability Director, sits on its steering committee alongside other seafood producers, including Young's and supermarket Sainsbury's. Whitby Seafood states on its website that it is part of an industry-led Fisheries Improvement Project, FIP. Project UK, which oversees the implementation of the FIPs for the industry, is funded by industry players including Marks & Spencer, Morrisons, Sainsbury's, Young's, Lidl, Co-op, Tesco and Whitby Seafoods itself. But Mr. Underdale has said he was extremely concerned about inaccurate self-reporting and the lack of progress being made by the FIP and the scampi industry. A spokeswoman for Whitby Seafoods said, "We welcome the opportunity to explain to the CMA or any other relevant party that asks us for clarification about this important project." Morrisons said on its website that it uses third-party certification to ensure its fisheries are credible and sustainable, with 99% of its farmed seafood certified to Global Sustainable Seafood Initiative standards. Sainsbury's, meanwhile, said it was the first ever retailer to be awarded various accolades, including one from the Marine Stewardship Council. M&S said on its site that it sits on the board of trustees, Fisheries Innovation Scotland, and that it is an active participant in a number of fisheries improvement projects. Young's said it is part of several sustainability organisations, while Tesco said it is working with wildlife charity WWF regarding its seafood sustainability aims. The Co-op said it works with 3 independent schemes to verify its seafood sustainability.